Ladies, gentlemen of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, welcome to my Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale breakdown. This is episode 6. The title of the episode is One World, One People, and my goodness, what an interesting episode. I have so many thoughts about this. There's a bunch of things, so I'm going to get straight into it in today's review and breakdown. I hope you guys enjoy. If you do, go ahead and leave a like on the video, and of course subscribe, because we're going to be covering Loki and other Marvel shows in the future and whatnot. So, right at the beginning of this episode, we have Carly saying the movement is ready, they're not going to stop. We have the GRC meeting, there's multiple threats coming in, it's chaos. It's picking up right at the end of last episode. I have to admit, at this moment, obviously I didn't know that Sharon was the power broker, but Sharon pulls off a face disguise. But this did raise my suspicions, but I just thought, look, I don't know, are you really going to be the power broker? I just thought, if not, who and what are you doing? Because I feel like your character is a plot convenience at every single avenue. But obviously they ended up making her power broker, and we'll talk about that when we get to that, especially the post-credit scene. But obviously we need to talk about when Sam comes in and the new Captain America suit. So I'm going to be fully transparently honest here, and it's quite an interesting journey that I went through in the space of 51 minutes. So when I first saw it, it's not that I didn't dislike it, I just, expectations are the mother of all failures, or however that saying goes. I expected, since Wakandans were making this, it was going to kind of be very vibranium oriented, and obviously I didn't think that necessarily meant it's going to have a weave kind of skin tight look like Black Panther's suit had. Let me just put it this way, at first I was like, okay, cool, but it's not what I expected, but still cool, but it feels a little bit off. But as the episode unfolded, the more and more I really, really liked it. As I said, I expected more vibranium rather than just the kind of trimmings that the armor had. I'm just guessing that they're vibranium little trimmings, especially towards the feet or the foot area. But regardless, I love how reminiscent it is of Steve's suit at the same time, obviously, because this guy, Sam, is now the new Captain America. At first, I think the thing that kind of threw me off most of all is the kind of cowl area. If you guys watch The Flash, or what, even if you read the comics or whatever, and obviously this is DC, but it's the nearest character that reminds me of it, his cowl kind of reminded me of the Wally West cowl, and I just didn't know. I just didn't know if I fully digged it. But overall, especially this one shot towards the end of the episode, I think it's when he was flying with Carly coming down, he was like an angel descending. That was a really awesome shot, and I was just like, wow, yeah, look at this. It's pretty badass. Sam does really rock it. I'm not hating on the suit, by the way, at all. I'm just saying I think initially it took a little bit of time to sink in. And that's not the only suit we got in this episode, John Walker, and I did not expect that, but we'll get to that later as well. One thing this episode made crystal clear, even though this was already very crystal clear, that Sam is very worthy of being Captain America. Right up until that point of where that guy was just like, excuse me, who are you? And he's like, I'm Captain America. With absolute conviction in the way he spoke it. This is where we have Batroc return as well, and he wanted to get the Falcon this episode, so this is where the action started. And already with this, I felt like with all the simultaneous scenes going on with Bucky and all of that, I felt like this episode, it's not that I wasn't enjoying it, I found it very entertaining, it's just I didn't know really where it was going at this point. I was like, is it all going to be action? And the more the episode progressed, it kept being action-y, and it wasn't the best action in the world, so I was just kind of evaluating this finale as I went on. As I was going through it, I just found myself kind of thinking, okay, it's not so much about the wow kind of factor of the action of the episode and stuff, because all while that was entertaining, it felt just kind of like the action from episode 1 and stuff. But I think where this episode shines is the kind of subliminal and the message that comes out of it, especially obviously when Sam was captured on the news. I felt like there was a lot of special moments, a lot of thematic moments that came to fruition in this episode that were echoed and kind of beat on in every single episode leading up to this point, where there was a lot of wholesome fulfillment. So I think maybe if you were kind of going into this episode expecting absolute extravaganza kind of level action, that's maybe going to be a bit underwhelming compared to maybe what you may have thought, because that's I think where I was going. I don't want to use the word underwhelmed, because I wasn't, but I just felt like something was missing there. But that doesn't mean that this episode doesn't shine in a billion other ways. I would love to know what you think now. By all means, I do want to repeat, just to that random commenter who might be going mad at me right now because of what I said, I'm not putting down the episode. I'm just saying I think it shined more in the messages and the wholesome moments rather than the spectacle that they might have been approaching. And this is where things get even slippery for Karli, because we had the police putting the GRC people in the meeting who make this decision, that final vote for what Karli really didn't want to happen, into NYPD vans. So yeah, she could basically kill all the GRC members who were voting, and Karli is so desperate to stop this vote that she suggests maybe even killing the hostages to stop the vote, and either way she's just like, the message gets out to the world. And I just feel like, hasn't the message already got out? And also we even had some of the Flagsmashers there hesitant and kind of shook through how Karli was just like, well, we'll just kill the hostages if we have to. I think at this point, I'm gonna have to be honest, I really think the actress is great. Erin Kellyman is fantastic, but I think at this point, or just in this episode in general, I feel like, I don't know whether it was mishandled along the way or whatever, but I feel like Karli was just getting annoying in this episode, and I think I'll give obviously more points as to why I felt like that. But, you know, I was so much more invested in the John Walker side of things during this series, and now we can look at it back in retrospect. And obviously, I understand what they were trying to do with Karli. She's still, as the actress says herself, she's good people or whatever. But, you know, obviously sometimes people who are fighting for a cause go to extreme ends. But so it's just like, yeah, I get what you're saying. But at this point, in this episode, with all the decisions that she made and she was doing, I felt sad when she died, don't get me wrong, but up until before that, I found her kind of frustrating. I didn't even find her frustrating in previous episodes. It was just this episode. I was just like, obviously, isn't articulate in a review, but maybe some of you will understand what I mean when I say, One shot I really loved as well is I like how Falcon obviously shields with his wings, but then we have the little cherry on top, literally, and that's the shield. I just remember that kind of zoom out shot on the bridge, and I don't know, that one just sticks with me in particular. I feel like I really like the fact that Sam maintains his wings and has the shield at the same time. He's not a super soldier, and he doesn't require the serum, which you could argue, imagine how great he would be if he did have that, but he doesn't need it. And I think we need to remind ourselves sometimes, because a few times in this episode I was thinking, man, Sam could technically be really fragile, but then I just thought of all the other superheroes I admire who are actually human. There's no super or meta-human aspects to them in terms of powers. So yeah, like, it just really does mean Anthony Mackie Sam Wilson is an absolute badass. Obviously with the wings and how he can use that, and his stamina and acrobatics, but also now it's in combination with the freaking vibranium shield. So yeah, I just like the demonstration of his prowess and ability in all the action that we got in this episode. Up next, so we had John Walker enter, literally screaming, "Morgenthau!" Now I thought, okay, here we go. Because if you didn't know already, if you've been watching my videos, I love Wyatt Russell's John Walker in terms of like his performance. I find the character multi-layered and very interesting. Shit happened, but that doesn't necessarily make him the most rotten person. There's multiple angles to him. And I thought, okay, like, here's the kind of roid-raged kind of US agent we might be getting. But this episode really threw me off track to the point of where I felt like it's almost a bit too much. Like, in terms of too much of a change, because I feel like the last episode really set up some vengeance from him. But at the same time, I kind of liked the decision, because I did feel like it was almost a 180 the other direction. But it shows exactly what I've been saying about this character. Yes, he's US agent, and we'll get onto that a little bit later, but he's not exactly the dickhead from the comics, at least not quite yet, or at least if there are properties to him that are reminiscent of the comic version of US Agent, he still does have the heroic side to him, who does just want to help, and we saw that. He made those conscious decisions to literally go after Karli or save people, and that's huge. So around this time we had US Agent versus, I suppose he's technically just John Walker at this point, versus multiple super soldiers. He got his head kicked in, he sees his Medal of Honor on the back of the shield. Now, it was very transparent with what they were doing with all of this action in such a public place. So many bystanders looking at the new Captain America. So yeah, it was kind of obvious where that was going. One thing I didn't actually like too much, and I have to be honest here, maybe I'm missing something. I don't think I am. But we had like John, and he should have been absolutely walking all over Karli Morgenthau. Erin Kellyman is 22 in real life. Maybe you could age her down to 19, or maybe she's 22 in the show. I don't know. But John is not only a super soldier himself, so, you know, fair enough to Karli and how she should be able to take punches maybe and stuff like that. But she's not military trained to the point where John Walker, like, this is, maybe it's a nitpick, But there's just a lot of fighting in this episode, and there's a lot of Karli fighting. And this is just a great example where we had Karli versus John Walker. They're both super soldiers, so what I mean by that is, to him, since they're both super soldiers and they're on the same level, she's nothing but like a 22-year-old girl, yet she still gets multiple kick flips and stuff on him, and it's just like, she's not, as far as we're aware, trained. So I don't know, stuff like that does bother me, because you have literal US agent here versus a 22-year-old girl. Oh wait, they're both super soldiers, so one doesn't have the advantage on top of the other, except one does, with one being a military-trained Medal of Honor. It was cool action, but I was like, how are you standing toe-to-toe with John Walker? Fair enough, it's Sam, right? So he doesn't have the super soldier serum, so like, I can give that one a pass with the struggle, right? That makes complete sense. But other than that, Avengers-level people versus a girl who has no combat, it's like me with super soldier serum. I'll try my best, but yeah, do you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure if I kick-slapped frickin' John Walker, people in the audience would be like, how? How did Boba do that? This next moment in the episode was actually one of my favorites, looking over it again in one of my bullet points. I love the moment when we have Walker looking at it, and he has to choose to try and save the people in the car who are literally about to fall and get a smash that will kill them, or go after Karli, the person who murdered his best friend and brother-in-arms. And he literally chose to save those people. And I found that really impressive, just because, as I said, without repeating myself too much, it adds a lot of humanity still to John Walker. And they literally had John Walker, like, pulling it back with his bare hands. That was really cool. But obviously, John Walker couldn't quite save it. We had Karli jump in, trying to just kill him and stop him from pulling and saving the people. So you had to have the new Captain America pushing it up with the rocket boost of his backpack, or like freaking wings, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it's like, I kind of felt bad for John in that moment, because it's like, yeah, well, fair enough, like, the new Captain America is saving the day, but like, if it weren't for freaking Karli, John would have done it. And obviously in this moment, yet again, the bystander's like, oh yeah, that's Black Falcon. No, man, that's Captain America. I think that was way too on the nose, but I understand why they did it. Like, you know, come on, they're like, the people acknowledge the new Captain America. Yet again, though, that the irritation of Karli in this episode, like, she doesn't give up. She tries to literally impale Bucky in the head. He catches the whatever it is. And then I love that moment where Sam came in and just absolutely F''ed the crap out of multiple flag smashers, including Karli with the shield. Like, boom, 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 boom. It's just like, yeah, just piss off for 1 minute. This leads to when they start escaping, and stuff really starts to go down in this moment. Also, it dawned upon me in the episode. I was like, we have John Walker, like, hanging around with Bucky, like, looking for Karli, and they're kind of like bro-y, and they were bro-y later on. It's like, wait, what? It's literally like that Paul Rudd moment, you know, where it's like, hey, yeah, man, who thought we would be here? No, not me. It's literally like that. John Walker and Bucky, especially after everything. That's almost like the 180 that kind of really took me back. But at the same time, as I said, you know, with the event, you know, considering the circumstances of what's going on, John Walker chose to help. It was a big, massive terroristic kind of, you know, threat going on, so it makes sense, and they kind of have to work together in that moment. But I was still kind of thrown back, especially considering how much of a push this show made. Yeah, there was multiple antagonists, technically. Power Broker in the background, we had the Flagsmashers, and then we had John, though. And John was a big force throughout multiple episodes, and now it's just like they're running around with each other. It's kind of crazy to see. The Power Broker reveal. So we had that moment where Sharon was like, drop your weapon, Karli. Sharon comes out of nowhere, and obviously as soon as this happened, I think we all knew what was coming, even if we didn't quite want to believe it up until this point. So we had her saying to Karli, you know, when you came to Madripoor, you reminded me of a young me. I took you in, gave you an opportunity, and you betrayed me. Karli's just like, yeah, because you wanted to control a world that hurt you. Lines aside and dialogue aside, Sharon is the Power Broker. And I get, it's just, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I've spoken to multiple people about this throughout the weeks when the theories were here, ever since we went to Madripoor and whatnot. And I think a lot of people just kind of said, the thing is, whether she is or isn't, but we don't believe that she is, and that's what a lot of people said most of the time when I was speaking to them, and I even agreed. It's just like, if she is, or they wanted to, it's almost a weird direction to take her character, and it's almost, the motivation's there, but it's almost so one-dimensional villain. I guess she was wronged by America, so it's like, I'm gonna completely stab him in the back, like completely collect myself as power broker. I have satellites, I have this technology, I have that technology. I did have super soldiers, but not anymore. I guess there's not too much wrong with that motivation because she was kind of like kicked out. She made a name for herself. I'm guessing all of that is true. So the power broker, obviously quite a change from the comic books, is now adapted to be Sharon Carter. She obviously has such resentment and disdain for the events of the past that she's titled herself and given herself such a position, and now she's been pardoned by the US government. And yeah, with that post-credit scene with regards to having access to all kinds of stuff because she's also getting her former position back. Man, so like the next phase and stuff like that is going to be very interesting, and obviously we'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. But I don't know, there's just something about Sharon, I think, being the power broker to me that just feels a little bit underwhelming. I don't know what it is. I can't put my thumb on it. How do you guys feel, though? I'm going to hand this off to you. What do you think of Sharon Carter being the power broker? I suppose from the post-credits scene, you know, that does make things interesting, especially as the audience now knows things and the characters don't, and we can, you know, move into phase 4 more and more and more with that interesting information. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't really like it that much. I don't know. Either way, though, with between Batroc coming in saying, you're gonna have to pay me 4 more times, whatever, she gets shot. And to be honest, I do want to throw this in here. I'm kind of surprised. I thought maybe she recovered so well from the bullet and that she took that bullet and whatnot, or maybe even a couple of bullets, can't remember, because maybe think about it, she had the serum. So think about it. If she's fully pledged power broker now, I'm surprised she didn't take it. I don't get why she wouldn't take it, because if you're the power broker, fair enough, you want to deal in all kinds of things, build yourself up with literal power to sell to people and this, that, and the other, and you're kind of the governor of all of that. Surely you'd want to be suited up and not necessarily suited up, but powered up yourself, so you can also protect yourself. I guess the idea is that she has super soldiers protecting her before it went missing. But I don't know. I just think if I was Sharon and I was power broker, if I'd gone that far, I would have taken this serum. The point of that comment was just about the fact that she survived. I just thought, oh, what if she took the serum? But nah, I don't think she has, really. And this is what I mean about broing out. It's like we had John Walker saying, mercy bears richer fruit than strict justice. And we literally have John Walker like slap Bucky on the back, and Bucky's just like, Lincoln, really? And then Walker's just like, great man, great quote. So it's just like, that's what I mean. They're like, they're broing out. It's almost so much of a change, but I really kind of like it. I have to admit, though, I didn't know how to feel about, you know, the fact that the Flagsmashers were like, oh, yeah, okay, but, you know, they got a text on the Flag Smasher app, so it's like, yeah, okay, we'll go that way. And then Bucky and John are just like, this app is great, because they obviously just text. If the app is that flawed, surely they could have used this as a means to an end much, much earlier. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I'm just talking about maybe, I have to admit, I haven't obviously gone through this properly, but it could have could introduce problems that they could have resolved in earlier episodes through doing something. I don't know. I'd love to know what you think about that. At this point, we had Carly going nuts saying, fight me, fight back. Sam is not really wanting to fight her. Obviously, what I do like about this moment with Carly, even though I was finding it kind of irritating, her death scene, it's just like when she died, she got shot by Sharon. The last thing she said is, I'm sorry. And it just kind of made me think she's a child. I know she's 22, but like, I think that, I don't know if that is the message you're meant to get out of it, but, you know, a girl, obviously she had a righteous cause. She didn't go about it in the right way. Sam completely believed in her cause, but as I said, the way she's executing it is very messed up. She was going too far. She wasn't really hesitating at killing hostages. It was still sending out the message, as she said so herself in this episode. But it kind of felt like, to me, like a comparison of a child who throws a tantrum, does things that are wrong, kind of knows it's wrong, and at the end of it, like when they're finally defeated, the crying, the tears are all out. In this case, Carly's dying. She just said to Sam, I'm sorry. It's like the kid saying sorry to the parent, or knowing that the parent is right, knowing that Sam was right in this analogy, kind of thinking, look, maybe I should have listened to him, gone about tackling and fighting the GRC's decisions and votings and whatnot the right way. Obviously, she had hesitations about that because I guess that's a long process. Stuff like this happens in the real world. It takes years to make an effect or even a dent, so she took more extreme methods. But yeah, as whatever I thought about this, there's something strangely kind of sad about the way Carly went out. And I think it's just like, as I said, she was just like an ambitious, over-ambitious kind of child in that moment. Not in a belittling way or a patronizing way. I'm not meaning to get it off that way. It's just she was reduced to a kid when her last words were, "I'm sorry." So I did feel like, oh, damn. And obviously the importance of that as well is, despite Carly, arguably doing very terroristic things, Sam still doesn't like that label, because there's a bigger message out of all of this, and that was the kind of, I was worried about this maybe getting a bit too on the face political kind of commentary stuff, but there was a lot of good stuff in this as well, and I really liked some of the lines, the kind of monologue, if you will, from Sam. At this moment, this solidifies his footprint into Captain America, literally, because he's not only being witnessed by a bunch of bystanders, he's being broadcast on the news. This is kind of a perfect heroic crowning moment, if you know what I mean. Obviously, there was a bunch more lines that were very empowering and very impactful. Only words spoken from a Captain America, I think, that would be appropriate, and that just makes Sam solidified in his role even more. But my favorite moment, I think, out of this as well is Bucky, because Bucky was just looking at him, looking so proud and happy, and I think that's because he was beginning, as we saw earlier as well, to doubt if Steve was right about Sam, which in turn would mean that, well, crap, if Steve was wrong about Sam, then maybe he's wrong about me being good and not like the Winter Soldier, which obviously we saw in episode 2, I think it was. But in this moment, he's just looking at him like, oh, no. Steve couldn't be more right about Sam. And obviously, in turn, right about Bucky. And that was wholesome. As the episode was kind of getting to a close, we had the Flagsmashers getting processed to go to the raft, and these are the super soldiers, and I think we all know that there's someone out there who isn't going to let super soldiers still remain, so Zemo literally gets his freaking butler to kill them. Like, what? I almost didn't recognize that dude. I was like, who are you? Are you working for, like, Contessa Valentina or something? But no. It was Zemo's butler. And as Valentina said herself, and I love this moment, I really do, because I like this adaptation of John Walker. I feel like this one adds a lot more kind of dimensions to him where, without repeating myself too much, the audience can empathize with him to an extent, despite bad decisions that he's made. So in this moment, we obviously have a John Walker who was helped out, and he doesn't know really what he's getting into with this shady woman. So we had Valentina sat down with John's wife, and he walks out, and he literally has the US agent suit, which is the same suit, which is deliberate, like from before. He kind of looked like US agent in the same kind of design, except it wasn't black. Now it's black, and as Valentina says herself, things are about to get weird, meaning like as we're going further and further into the phase 4. So when they do, we're not going to need a Captain America, we're going to need a US agent. And in this moment, I kind of felt bad for Walker, even though he was feeling really happy, because despite all the crap that happened, him and his wife were really happy because he's being appointed an official position from, despite he doesn't know too much about this rogue Black Ops government thing that Valentina is probably posing it to be. He's thinking, oh man, I'm still endorsed. I'm still given like a official title. But obviously, it's not how it really appears. But to him and his wife, yeah, okay, I'm not Captain America, but I am US Agent, a new title, but he's going to be used in the future, and I can't wait for that. I can't wait to see more of Wyatt Russell. Bottom line, he doesn't know quite what he's in for, and he's like saying, I'm back. I think he's happy. This is his chance to, obviously he killed that guy, but like, begin to make amends, begin to be a new title, to begin to help out the way he wanted, just like how he told Lamar in that scene where they were talking about being awarded the Medal of Honors for things they did in Afghanistan that weren't, obviously right. So now it's his chance. And I've really felt that. And we had this moment, though, where he still twitches like that a little bit. So he's still, obviously, he's still flawed. And this is dangerous, I think, for John, because despite coming from a good place at his very core, obviously his ego, and I'm not saying he has an absolutely huge ego, but being given a new position of US agent by this shady woman, Valentina, and we all kind of know a little bit about her as we've gone over in last week's review. I think he's going to think whatever he gets sent out to do now, it's kind of backed and endorsed by higher up good people. And obviously what we're going to see him do in the future isn't going to be, I wonder how long it's going to take him to realize that he's not necessarily doing the great things that he wants to do or wanted to do as Captain America. So I'm really intrigued about that, and I'm really intrigued at potential future conflict that this could introduce with US Agent and, Captain America Sam Wilson. Because you're going to have to think that whatever happens in the future, as Valentina said, things are about to get weird. So when they do, we're not going to need a Captain America, we're going to need a US agent. Well, you can bet your ass that they're going to come to a conflict in whatever situation they're going to have to deal with in the future. And I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm very happy for Wyatt Russell. It's an interesting adaptation of US agent. At the end of the episode, we had Bucky visit Yuri. He told him about his son and how that was the Winter Soldier, and that was him. Sebastian Stan's performance, even in like a 18-second scene or whatever it was incredible. Sam goes to see Isaiah. This moment was really wholesome. He takes Isaiah to the Museum of Captain America, and in this moment, he sees himself added to that history as a statue and like a little monument. Now, if you're interested in seeing what that text said on that monument, it just goes to detail how he was one of a dozen African American soldiers who were recruited against their will, without their consent for participation in human testing in pursuit of the super soldier serum, and it details how most didn't survive. It basically just gives information on everything we know. I just wanted to freeze that frame to make sure there was nothing more interesting, but yeah, really, really sweet moment. And then at the end of the episode, we literally had Sam and Bucky having a good time, having a barbecue at Sam's sister's. And then we had the post-credits scene, which is kind of what we've already talked about. With how Sharon is pardoned now. It's interesting because the guy says the Carter name has always been synonymous with service and trust. It's like, I wouldn't trust her. And then she says, start lining up our buyers. Super soldiers might be off the menu, but we're about to have full access to government secrets, prototype weapons, you name it. Should be something for everyone. I would comment about that, but I think we all know where that's going. Overall, this finale isn't quite what I expected. I feel like that's a little bit of an echoed message. I thought it was still very, very entertaining. It just didn't necessarily go the way that I thought maybe it would in certain areas, but overall, I found it very fulfilling for multiple characters. Sam is definitely the new Captain America, and that feels right. It felt organic, and that's the most important thing, because this was about Steve's legacy overall. Bucky's arc was the most interesting to me throughout this whole series. I have to admit that the Sharon Carter power broker reveal kind of feels off to me still. It just feels like a balloon that's deflated. I don't know why. It just feels like bzzz. I feel like quite a few people were saying that, though. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to make an ad populum to kind of reinforce my criticism here. And it's not even a criticism, because as I said, I can't quite place my finger on it. And other than that, I feel like there was interesting setups. We've obviously had Valentina last episode. She's here again. We have John Walker continuing in the future. He's actually officially been labeled as US agent. So that's all good stuff. That's all good stuff. I think with this ending probably would be better if the series was binged as a whole. I'm not saying that the series requires to be binged for other episodes to be received in a great way. I just felt like this ending maybe would have been better received by me if it was, I watched episode 3, 4, 5, and then 6, or something like that. But I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below, guys. What did you think of this series as a whole? What did you think, obviously, just, separately of this episode? Did you think something was missing? What did you think of the power broker reveal? It's been great talking about this. This video's gone on for long enough, but make sure you're subscribed if you're brand new here, and stay subscribed if you are subscribed to make sure you don't miss out on a future Marvel video and other videos that I cover. Like the video if you did enjoy, and if you got this far, type down in the comments below, along with whatever comment you want to post, just to prove that you've made it this far, hashtag Cap is back. And other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you, people of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the next video. Goodbye.